Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you all. Thanks for joining us this evening. My name is Howie Ree, and I work here at Fuqua. And this is my colleague, Judd Staples here. Together, we're running the Duke Innovation and Entrepreneurship Speaker Series this year. So tonight's panel, as you know, is the Entrepreneurship panel at Fuqua. And we have 5 Duke entrepreneurs, and they're actually all Fuqua alums themselves, and they all have companies that are based in Durham, North Carolina here. I think we've got a real nice mix of some very interesting stories here. So we're going to be able to dive into that a little bit here. But before we do that, I've got just a couple slides I want to talk you through. So, Judd, you want to take it away here on the upcoming events here?
First off, a little bit about Duke Innovation and Entrepreneurship Initiative. This is a new umbrella organization formed under the Provost's office to unify all the innovation and entrepreneurship activity here on campus. It includes the business school, law school, school of the environment, engineering school, Trinity, undergrad, graduate, as well as supporting our faculty in commercializing their research. Some of the events are shown right here. You've got a copy of it on the last page of your handout, and I'd also steer you to entrepreneurship.duke.edu. We've got all the resources across campus, got that as well as this event. And actually, just late breaking news, we've got another event coming up on Monday, October 22nd. The Duke Law Association for Social Entrepreneurship and Innovation is having a seminar at 12:15 in room 4055. I'll post this. But it's got 3 Durham entrepreneurs discussing legal issues facing startups. So it's another great one for our series.
Great. Thank you, Judd. And so I just want to talk about one of these deadlines in particular, the Duke Startup Challenge. So let me just see a show of hands. How many of you have been to a Duke Startup Challenge event or have competed in this Startup Challenge before? All right, so just a couple of you. So that means that for most of you, this is new information. So let me just say that the Duke Startup Challenge is the largest entrepreneurship competition on campus. Each year we give away about $85,000 in prizes. And the early deadline is October 23rd, where we will give away $5,000 in prizes. And the focus is on finding you all mentors that you can match with if you have a startup idea. Examples are some Duke alums, notably Aaron Patzer of Mint.com, Josh Felser, who's started 2 companies, one for $300 million, one for $60 million, Ryan Spoon, who was at Dogpatch Labs when Instagram was formed, Matt Coyden, CTO of Pocket, they have a few million users, and Rich West of Advanced Liquid Logic. So if you're thinking of pursuing a startup this year, this is a great chance to get some feedback and get started. And additionally, one of the purposes of this speaker series is for you to meet and mingle with our panelists after the event. So afterwards, we're going to be at the Thomas Center. How many of you know where the Thomas Center is? This is probably mostly Fuqua students. Okay, for those of you who don't know where the Thomas Center is, please follow one of the people that does. Just very briefly, you're going to walk out the door, walk down the long hall right in front of you out the door, and then there's a bridge which you're going to cross. It's a covered bridge, and that's the Thomas Center. It's named after Dave Thomas of Wendy's fame. It's down that way, and so we're going to have free food and drink there. Positive ideas required, and we hope you'll join us to meet our panelists then. So with that, we're going to go ahead and jump into our entrepreneurship panel at Fuqua here today. Here's the way I'm going to run it. I'm going to have each of the panelists introduce themselves and say about 5 minutes worth of their stories. Their stories are also listed as bios in your packets, both their stories and their company's stories. After that, I'm just going to open it up to the audience for questions. So start thinking of your own questions that you want to ask them, and then we're going to wrap up around 6:30 with each of them saying a little bit about what advice they would give to you as students. So we are going to go ahead and start with Michael here, and then move down the line here.
Michael Noel. I started while I was still here at Fuqua about 2 years ago. Started a company called Acorn Innovestments. We are basically an angel investment firm and do some industrial real estate as well in support of our startups and as a way to get some income while we wait for our startups to grow. Basically, what we do is we invest in early stage companies, pre-revenue, usually, oftentimes pre-validation even, very early stage companies that are in manufacturing, advanced materials, and or environmental technology. Our sweet spot is really finding companies that manufacture a product out of advanced materials that helps solve an environmental problem. On the real estate side, manufacturing companies need buildings, and collecting rent on buildings is a nice activity. So we do that as well. We just, I say we, it's been historically just me. I just recruited another Fuqua alum to join me, be my partner down here in Durham. Recruited him from New York. He's working up at Goldman, we're basically going to start to open up a new fund. Our first real fund, was basically equity investments in Acorn. It's a good way for us to basically, inexperienced for an entrepreneur such as myself, a good way for me to be able to raise money by basically getting someone early, or a couple people early, to invest in the company, have equity, and then any subsequent fund that comes out of it, those people that believed in me early can take a piece of the carry that Acorn gets from subsequent funds, as well as benefiting from those funds as well. So that's about it. The new fund is going to be a $25 million fund. It will again focus on startups, but and industrial real estate. We're also going to be placing small minority stake investments in privately held, established dividend-paying industrial entities, basically paying them to give us the privilege to find them some startups, help grow those startups, with the idea that they would eventually, hopefully, acquire those startups. And in the process, when the private equity partners and the startups need buildings, we would build buildings for them as well. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. Jay?
Hi, my name is Jay Mebane. I've been involved in a couple of startups here in the area. I'm currently involved with a company called Thundershirt, which is a dog anxiety solution. So dogs that are afraid of thunder, loud noises, or dogs that get anxious when their owners leave the house. That sort of came about by an introduction to another company that we had at the time, a company called SnapTotes, and we did custom photo handbags. And as a result of doing that, we had a manufacturing facility in Juarez, Mexico. The local entrepreneur approached us and said, I've got this stupid idea, don't laugh, but there are a lot of dogs out there that are anxious, and I've got the solution for them. And we said, we did laugh. And we said, but, as fate would have it, we can manufacture it. We have web developers, we can put it up online, we can test it, see what happens. And fortunately we did. We did that about 3.5 years ago. We've now got 30 employees. We recently took some outside money. So it's been growing faster than the companies I thought would have done better. So you never know where the opportunity is going to come from. You just have to be open and ready for it. Prior to doing that, like I said, it was involved in another company called SnapTotes. Immediately before that, it was a company called Rapid Data. Notice that another speaker is Jess Lipson, who'll be out here in a couple weeks. Definitely come listen to him. But that was a company that I was involved in with Jess. We did online pharmaceutical market research. Coming straight out of Fuqua, had gone to work for a large venture capital company called Fovion. The design behind that company was, we're going to go out, put computers on, internet service provider networks, anonymously gather data, then we'll mine it and sell it back to marketers. It was a great idea. Got a lot of money invested in it. It blew up spectacularly when the dot-com bubble sort of burst. And coming out of that said, I will never take venture capital again. I will either fund it myself or have friends and family fund it so that we can grow it at our own pace. which is sort of what led to the smaller companies. So my niche, I have two partners that I've done these investments with. We tend to look for sort of niche markets where there are several players, that have already proven that there's a marketplace for that niche. And then we come in and find a way to do it, either faster, cheaper, or better than the competitors. And fortunately that's worked out. It's been a whirlwind of learning everything from, how do you find a factory in China to manufacture at large scale? Once you do that, how do you ship it internationally? How do you expand international sales networks? So I think you get a variety of things, which is what I like about entrepreneurship. No day is ever like the day before, and for me, that's really the attraction. Is that you can make decisions quickly, you can move on, and you can learn a lot in the process while doing it. So it's been fun. Durham's a fantastic place to create a startup. The Duke community is interestingly, it's very small once you start networking and realize all the connections. And fortunately, I think the Duke community is also very helpful in helping other people, get off the ground. So, never be afraid to reach out to anyone that has Duke beside their name, because when you tell them you've got that beside your name, they're going to be happy to talk to you.
Great. Thanks a lot, Jay. Sue?
My name is Sue Harnett. I graduated from Duke undergrad in '90 with an econ degree, and then actually got my master's in healthcare administration through Fuqua. Graduated in '92. I have a little bit of a different path to becoming an entrepreneur. I was actually a hospital administrator here for 11 years, and I loved what I did. I just didn't want to be a hospital administrator for the rest of my life. So I was an athlete undergrad, and decided to kind of try and focus on my passion, which was sports, but I never wanted to be a coach. I wanted to figure out if there was a business angle to start a business. I did a lot of volunteer work in the athletic department, and about 9 years ago came up sort of with the idea that it could take photography, intellectual property that's owned by the university, and maybe if we could digitize that and create product for all the crazy fans and alumni, that maybe there was a business there. So I did that nights and weekends for probably about 18 months. And we're having some success on the college side. We started the business with Duke and got up to about 6 schools, and at that point in time just decided to kind of make a leap and raise a little bit of money and get started. So we would pursue license agreements with colleges and put these online stores together, and then just grew the college market. So today we work with about 150 colleges across the country. We evolved that model to do white label photo stores for various brands. We responded to an RFP by the NFL about 3.5 years ago, and were awarded that business. So we run this business for the NFL and the majority of the NFL teams. We work with Major League Soccer and lacrosse and the NBA. So it's been an interesting ride. One of the things that has come out of it, because we have so many great relationships with these brands, we were actually introduced to a very interesting technology that was developed in Cape Town, South Africa, called the Gigapixel Fan Cam. And that was an introduction that came from the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are one of our best clients. And essentially it's a technology that you could bring to an event where there's a large crowd of people and capture a very high resolution image. And what winds up happening is we turn that, there's a website destination you can go to about 24 hours later, and fans can zoom in anywhere in the stadium, tag themselves. And then, so what it's become for us is a new product that we can offer to our clients, and folks love it because it's a great data collection tool and a social media solution for corporate sponsors and brands. So that's been an interesting pivot for us. It's an ever evolving business, but a fun and exciting one. We're having a good time. We love Durham as well. We've been downtown now for 6.5 years. We love coffee a lot, so we just keep getting closer and closer to Parker and Otis. So 2 weeks ago, we just got a little closer to them, so we're about 52 paces to the coffee line now. So having a good time.
Great. Thanks very much, Sue. Sean?
I'm Sean Lilly Wilson, founder of Fullsteam Brewery. We are a human anxiety solution. I've been waiting to say that line ever since. We're a 2-year-old craft brewery based in Durham, North Carolina, of course, with a tavern and production brewery. So we're both an on-site tavern where you can hang out 7 days a week, and we service about 120 accounts, mostly through the Triangle area, although we're growing in Charlotte and soon Charleston, South Carolina. Our mission is to explore what it means to be a Southern brewery using local farmed ingredients and Southern food traditions in the beer making process. So what does that mean? We brew anything ranging from corn grits to persimmons to pawpaws to sweet potatoes, all over the place. And my mission really in all of it is to build what I call a Southern beer economy. The more we buy local, the more farmers and agricultural entrepreneurs we encourage in the process to grow and source us those beer making ingredients. Got my start in that a little later, as a kind of like Sue, as an entrepreneur that I considered myself an entrepreneur in waiting. When I was a student here, I did a joint program with the MPP, Masters of Public Policy, and MBA, and I had an advisor in the MPP program who said, "You're meant to be an entrepreneur." It was one of those, like, she looked me in the eye, like, soul-searching thing. And I always thought, like, well, that's great, but I'm not an engineer. I don't have the idea. I'm not a technician. And it took me a long time to realize that people are my idea. Like, I'm good with people, and that can be good enough. And you can partner with people who are the technicians, who are the product developers. And you know, I like making people happy, and I finally found a way to express that. It took me 10 years to get comfortable being that entrepreneur, and what I did from 2000 to Fullsteam in 2010 was basically work for other startups. Bounced around from a lot of tech startups, worked for a Japanese weather services company, worked for the Duke Alumni Association, even worked for a diaper company. So I've done a lot of different things, and finally I can say I have something that's mine, that I own with a lot of other people supporting it. I got into craft beer because a friend of mine from business school, you've heard the story, right? JP Cardona, he invited me over to a party at the Bryan Center, and there were all these crazy beers that I had never heard of before, like big bottles of beer and fancy labels and everything, and I'm like, why haven't I seen this before? And JP said, well, these beers are illegal in North Carolina. And I was like, what? They're illegal? And he told me about this law that made it illegal to brew beer or sell beer above 6% alcohol. And I thought that was a really stupid law, so I took my public policy degree, I took my business degree, and I took the fact that I was unemployed, and I started up a lobbying organization to change that law, and that was really the foray into craft beer for me. I realized, you know what, if I can change a law as an entrepreneurial organization, even though it was a grassroots effort in which I didn't pay myself anything, I could create a business out of this. I fell in love with the craft beer industry, and 2 years later, we're still making a go of it. So that's my story.
Great. Thank you, Sean.
How many of you have been to Fullsteam and tried the beer? Oh, that's great. I was going to say, if you haven't, get right over there. It's right, basically left field of the old Durham Bulls Park.
Bring your ID. Either I'm getting old or
Shameless plug for Fullsteam. It's fantastic beer. Okay, so I'm Jed Carlson. I graduated FUCA 05 from the daytime program, and I'm going to tell you a little about. I'm the geek that actually brought slides. So I don't know what that says about me, but draw your own conclusions. ReverbNation is my company.
Right.
Yeah,
Go
thank you.
forward,
And we make. I'll just buzz through it. Reverb's my second company. This is my intro slide. I usually show people a picture of my family because I know they don't care, but it's fun for me to look at. Live in Durham, married, 2 kids. Okay, so this is what ReverbNation does. We provide online software tools, basically software as a service tools for bands to plant, grow, and then ultimately harvest their fan relationships. So that's a lot of technical jargon for We provide them email marketing, Facebook apps, mobile apps, distribution on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, among other things. Anything a band needs outside of making the music piece, so the business side, we basically provide an online format. You can think of us as a virtual, providing all the services that a virtual record label might provide. We have about 2.5 million bands on the site today. You can read the numbers. We've been pretty successful at getting bands. We actually didn't even think there were this many bands in the world when we started the company in 2006. SaaS company focused on musician freemium customer acquisition model. We got 65 employees, and we actually just moved right pretty much across the street from Parker Notice. So I know I feel your gravity towards that place. I eat lunch there like twice a week. I swear I should get like a membership. But we're right here in Durham, and this company was founded off of a business plan that I wrote while I was at Fuqua in 2004 in a class called Business Plan Writing that was being taught by a venture capitalist, a local venture capitalist named Kip Fry, who after that threw himself back into the entrepreneurship ring as well in Durham, and he's kind of a local personality you might meet sometime. Tell you a little bit more about my story. So ReverbNation's my second company. My first company was a very traditional sort of manufacturing. We made a printing and graphic arts company, a commercial printing company. We made annual reports, packaging, direct mail, sort of anything people needed to print and manufacture. And I sold that company in 2000, and right after that, did a sort of a consulting stint with one of our bigger customers who was a compact disc replicator for the music industry. And this was right when Napster had come out, and all these record label owners were sort of screaming that the sky was falling and that their business was going to be gone next year, and nobody knew what was going to happen. And it was through that experience and meeting those people that I sort of tucked away in my mind, wow, this looks like a pretty serious sea change in a big industry. It might be an opportunity here. Came to Fuqua, rounded up a couple of really smart classmates, and sort of forced them to help write a business plan with me before they went off and did consulting and banking and all that stuff. And then I got out of Fuqua and spent 8 months shopping my business plan around. Basically what it came down to was Howie and I opened up Howie's Black Book, essentially, because Howie, well, I don't know, it's too long a story, but Howie has all these amazing connections in the area. It's unbelievable. And I started buying people coffee at Starbucks that were basically local entrepreneurs that were ready to get back in the game and had a team that we could build around, and eventually found my what was now my business partner, Mike Dornberg. And so what else can I say? I want to echo the statement that Durham is a fantastic place to start a company. So if you are all potential entrepreneurs in this room, which I suspect you may be, you don't have to go to the Bay, you don't have to go to New York or Boston. Durham provides, well, the Triangle in general, an amazing amount of talent, a low cost of living, and a pretty good lifestyle into which to build a company. So my little plug for Durham would be don't rule it out of hand. It's a growing startup environment and hub.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much,
Thanks
Jed.
for having us.
Yeah, so that's a great start to the panel. So like I said, I'm going to turn it over to the audience for all the questions here. But before we do that, let me just, for the sake of the panelists, let's get a little sense for who is in our audience tonight. So I know that there's probably at least a handful of Fuqua students. Raise your hand if you're a Fuqua student, okay? All right, and now let's just say, what are the other schools that are represented here? How many of you are Trinity students, undergrad? All right, so that looks like that's another majority here. And then Pratt students, there you go. Undergrads or master's students?
Grad. Yeah.
Undergrad? Okay, great. And any other schools that are represented here tonight? Yes?
Nicholas School.
Nicholas School of the Environment, okay? And there you go in the front too. Great, anybody else? Okay, good, so that's your audience here tonight. I'm going to turn it over to you for questions. Who's gonna lead us off here?
Take a risk.
They may give you a job if you ask a good question here, so. Yes, Jen.
This question is for Sue. I'm interested in hearing more about how you navigated your first few clients. You said you started out with about 6 colleges and the whole licensing agreement.
It was a little frustrating for me at the time. That's why I held on to my day job to kind of prove this out. But At the time that I started it, it was a pretty novel concept, so there was a lot of patience. I almost gave up many, many times, but that first one came through, and you know, the value of the Duke brand is pretty powerful. So that first one being Duke was great, and just made a decision that those first, you know, handful of schools were going to be really important. So, you know, maybe we could have gotten some small schools really early, but we decided to hold out for some of the bigger ones. So it was, you know, when you called and did those cold calls and said, hey, you know, who are your clients? And it was Duke, and then you kind of mumbled into the phone a little bit after that. It was a big enough draw that really helped. So we just tried to stay very, you know, so we went from Duke to Ohio State, Carolina, which, you know, decent brand. But I think that was a wise decision to just kind of hold who your first few clients were going to be. But especially if it's a novel idea, sometimes it takes a little while and a little patience to get it going.
Who were the contacts at those schools that you targeted? Because I imagine they're all kind of set up differently. Duke has a unique kind of bookstore system where the bookstores are.
Yeah, college licensing is an interesting industry. There's a company called the Collegiate Licensing Company that's based in Atlanta. That is the agency that I would recommend starting with if it was a collegiate-based idea. We positioned ourselves in the beginning where we really went school by school because this model was a little bit different. It wasn't really getting a license for logos and marks to make product. It was more taking intellectual property owned by the school and commercializing that. So that was the reason we went school by school, but if I had it to do all over again, I'd probably start with the Collegiate Licensing Company. We actually have a fantastic relationship with them and work very closely with them now.
Next question. Jessica.
Do you mind, I have some questions for Jed. Do you mind going through your freemium model and describing how you came about that and realizing that was sort of the best part of your business model or a good part of it?
Sure. So in the beginning, we sort of recognized early on that we didn't, it was gonna be hard to have sort of network effect type products without having a network, and the networks were expensive to buy and stuff. So we started by building products that would be usable by the very first band that came to our site. And I would love to look back and sort of rewrite history and say that we really made a smart decision, but it was really a lucky stroke of luck that happened. At the time we made, our first product was what you know, it's now kind of an out of date term. It was called a widget, basically a piece of technology that was a music player that any band could upload their song to our site and then use a sort of Build-A-Bear kind of system and make a widget, a player that looks like anything they wanted, skinned sort of any way they wanted. And at the time, every band on the planet had a blog or a website, but they had no way to play music for the people that came there. And so we built this product and we gave it away for free, but at the bottom of it, it had a little message that said, are you in a band? Get one of these for free. And again, kind of lucked into this and wound up repeating this model several times actually with success. But it taught us the lesson. We were giving away something that was really inexpensive for us to create. You know, we built it one time. You know, that's the beauty of software. And then every time, you know, the usage of it really didn't cost us anything. So we gave that away, but it would have cost a band $10,000 to have one of these things custom made. So for them, it was extraordinarily valuable. And that sort of was the launching point for how we've sort of thought about freemium. We tend to think of the free products as the ones that you know are the ones that drive recruitment, sort of usership, and then it gives us the opportunity to have a relationship with you and start selling you the premium stuff. There's certain stuff that you just could never give away for free because it has really big underlying cost to it. But we try to find those products that we can build one time and that don't cost, have no variable costs, and give those away for free if they're highly valuable. Facebook app was another example. We basically repeated the widget story all over again on Facebook. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, in terms of being able to express quality to your customer or to denote sort of value that you were adding. I mean, so I see that it was very costly for them to make this widget.
Yeah.
But in terms of like add-on services,
Yep.
I've gone onto your website and think it's really awesome, but I'm not in a band. But I guess from like a revenue model,
Yeah.
how did you monetize a lot of that?
Well, the widget itself, we actually ended up we would charge you a monthly fee if you wanted that little sign, the little "Are you in a band?" and our branding removed. So if you wanted it completely sort of white labeled, you pay us a small monthly fee, like $3 or $5 a month, if you're a band. But where we draw the line on what's free and what's paid is still, it's still evolving for us. I don't have all that much insight. We have 7 paid products and probably 30 basically free features or products, and we're constantly experimenting. But I would say this: the hardest nut to crack is artist recruitment for us. Like that's why we've been successful, is because we can get bands sign up to our site in large numbers for the lowest cost. And so we tend to err on the side of not tinkering with the free stuff that we've done and not putting roadblocks in front of it because it's working. Sure. But it's always evolving. We're testing constantly. I don't think there's a better answer than test.
Yep.
Probably. Yeah.
Yes, Keisha.
So this is for anyone who would like to answer, but I'm curious about how you went about conducting your market research prior to starting your businesses, and if you have any advice for those of us who have ideas and are, thinking about starting businesses.
For me, my market research was more, I think, gut-based than anything else, and that, I guess I'm not really selling a tangible product or anything like that, so it might not be the best answer to the question, but for me it was mainly, my family has several different manufacturing companies that my father built, and because of that, people would come to my father or to I or anybody else in our organization asking for advice on how to raise money, on how to how to build their manufacturing business, how to get it going, and what we found in general was that there really wasn't that much manufacturing support in general. I think it's more than just in this area, but in this area specific, it's a whole lot of tech and a whole lot of bio whatever, and so it came more out of just coming to me than me going out and really prodding the market and seeking and looking for it, and in raising the fund now, it's been kind of validated in that you have a lot of industrial people that have done very well and that have built businesses, very successful businesses, that have money that they'd love to invest in other industrial activities. They haven't found that avenue, and they have no interest in going and talking to company after company just to find the one that makes sense for them to invest in. And so that's kind of what we do. But as far as really doing the market research that I tell the startups that we invest in to do, I didn't do any of that.
So last 2 businesses I've been involved in have been consumer businesses. And the beauty of the internet is it doesn't take a lot of investment. You put a website up, buy some Google AdWords, and start driving traffic to your site. And so we, to Jed's point, we test a lot. It's easy to see if there's market validation. The best market validation is someone's willing to open their wallet and buy something. So whenever we have a new product, we will quickly build a site. We'll start targeting the AdWords we wanted to do. We'll do some online advertising, and really just drive as many people as we can to the site. See what our conversion rate is. If it hits our threshold, okay, there's a market there. And then the thing we do on the back end is we do a lot of follow-up surveys. So anyone that buys anything or has visited our site, we will follow up. Do you mind spending 3 minutes, answering 5 questions so that we can learn a little bit more about how to improve the product?
I hesitated because I was like, is it okay to say gut? Because it's the same thing for us. We very much were like, in the mid-2000s, as I was first looking at the craft beer industry, my business plan kind of led with North Carolina craft beer drinkers are far much more adventuresome than the current crop of breweries. So the customer wants a lot more than the current breweries are giving. So let's fill that need, and that was just pure gut. Well, it was just a lot of listening. So what is gut? I mean, to use a different part of the body, it's really like you're listening and collecting a lot of information. And as a craft beer drinker and enthusiast, at the bar, you're hearing it. I wish North Carolina breweries would do this. I wish that, so just pay attention to what consumers are saying, and that kind of informs the gut a lot of times. Now we have an R&D lab, and it's our tavern, right? That's where we get to test things and see if they work. So we have a small but successful tavern where we get hundreds of people a week to give us that feedback, and it's either can range from percentage of sales on our point of sale system, where we look at, oh, this new beer has fallen off precipitously, data driven, to bartenders saying, they think this beer's not hoppy enough, or whatever it might be. That's our personal experience.
I'll build just quickly on what Jay was saying earlier. When we test demand for a product or a potential product, we will oftentimes run Google AdWords that don't have a website behind it. I mean, they'll have like our homepage, but we're literally just testing messaging and to see what the market response is and what what the demand is for it. We'll do that on Facebook too. Another strategy, a couple more strategies that we've done in the past. If you're looking for market sizing, there's a great site called grabstats.com, which has it's like an aggregation of a whole bunch of statistical information about that you wouldn't normally find, or that's hard to find, and it's kind of being aggregated there. It's free. So that's a place to look at market research. And if you want to research competitors, one little trick is to join the trade organization for that industry. And oftentimes, by doing that, and maybe even, buying like the premium membership to the trade organization, or giving, spending a little money with them, you can get a lot of information that's self-reported from the membership. And that can be a great way to size a market or understand the competitive landscape.
So I'll add one more thing too. I had two conversations today that made me think of it, where depending on what it is that you want to do, Kickstarter is a great way to gauge interest. And both the conversations I had today was people that had a great idea that wouldn't be that expensive. It's not, they don't need to raise $5 million to make their business successful. They need to raise a lot less, and I told them just to go to Kickstarter. You've got a friend, there's someone that's really good with a video camera that can put together an awesome video that you throw up on Kickstarter, that you just throw all over Facebook. You get all your friends to throw it all over their Facebook pages, and see if people want to prepay you for your product. And it's a great way. You look at some products that, my goal is to raise $10,000 and just barely hit it, or you get those products that, I want to raise $10,000 and, all of a sudden, they've raised $120,000 because everybody wants it. That tells you pretty clearly that people are interested.
Hi, my name is Eve. I'm from Fuqua. So my question is to anyone who'd like to answer. It's about what did you guys do while you were a student in Fuqua to better prepare you as an entrepreneur in the future later?
Drink beer at Fullsteam. Well, I've never been the best student in the world. I've got my own brand of learning, and I came to Fuqua not because I was looking to change jobs or to get my foot in the door at Procter & Gamble or go to get a consulting job or an iBanking job or anything like that. I came because I wanted to learn, because I had never historically been that good a student, and I got to a point where you know, I was really good with my hands, I was really good with my heart, and I had these holes in my education that I needed to fill. And so while I was here, I focused on the classes that, I can say this now that I'm not here, I really focused on the classes that were the classes that I came here to take, right? And you know, P equals MBA, and you know, I think a certain you know, a certain number of the classes, you know, I took and learned, of course. Some of them surprised me a whole lot, and I learned a whole lot when I was just taking them because I had to. But then when it came to electives, I filled up my schedule with as many classes as I could. Ended up taking more classes than what I needed to graduate because there are that many good classes here. And then other than that, I really relied on the side of me that was the reason why I wasn't that good a student in undergrad, and really networked the hell out of this place. And you know, the Dave Thomas Center bar was Team Room 60 for us, and that's what we called it. And you know, just getting to know as many people as I could from all over the world, and figuring out what they're doing, and you know, who do they know, and doing it out of genuine interest, but also with that back of the mind, like, hey, who knows? You know, as long as this person knows me, then maybe 20 years from now, it might be worth something. And then honestly, Howie, to your point about Howie's Black Book, I mean, I didn't know this book existed, but Howie, while I was in school, I started raising money for my first fundraise, and my first investment was actually while it was in November of my second year, so I was still a student here, and it was a company called Plotwatt. It's still a company called Plotwatt that Howie had introduced me to. So you know, and David Robinson, awesome professor, and also just an awesome guy to pick you know, pick his brain and talk to him. And vast majority of the professors here, you know, they're in their offices and have office hours, and are not, you know, they're not always people in that office, and they have office hours for a reason. And honestly, excuse my French, but you know, people love to shoot the shit, and professors are the same way. And so find the things that you want to do, and the professors that specialize in and that have dedicated their lives to researching it. You know, who doesn't love talking about what they've dedicated their lives doing? So that's what I do.
I'd also add the CED, Council for Entrepreneurial Development. This is a very relevant organization. Bull City Forward and the other kind of hybrid Duke Durham startup organizations. The Entrepreneurship and Venture Capital Club, I assume, is strong and going well here.
There's the
right?
two presidents right there.
Yeah. So, and you know, like one cool thing that I was one of the presidents of the Entrepreneurship Club here, and it was during the Duke Startup Challenge, and we started something. Like that was the year we formed, with a lot of people, the Duke Startup Challenge. And so we invented something. So if you can invent something with your fellow students, right? Sounds like you got, you know, you basically invented something with student help, and you kind of, you know, I'm hearing like Michael talk about professors who like to start things, and organizations love to start things, and students love to start things, and just start something. You know, find somebody, no matter who it is, and start now. I started too late, honestly.
Don't skip your communication class. That's often overlooked. If you're gonna be an entrepreneur, you're gonna be selling something to somebody all time, at all times. Selling employees on why they should work for your company, not someone else. Investors, you know, whatever, suppliers, partners, it doesn't matter. They still offer the class?
Yes.
Is it still in the core?
Management communications. Yeah.
Management communications, don't blow it off. You know, use it, it's like the Toastmasters that kind of comes with your FUCO education. That's my one little tidbit. That's true.
I like that. Start something. That you said in that Fuqua, I think Fuqua especially, but Duke in general is a lot of aspects are student run, as those of you that are at Fuqua know, and that makes it really easy to, if you see a hole that you think needs filling and that you think students might benefit from, the tools are all here, and you starting something while you're here is easy, and relatively easy, and it's a great way to kind of have your startup while you're here. That's a startup that's, you know, it doesn't require money. It doesn't really require anything. If you fail at it, no big deal, and you learn a whole lot of things along your way. That's when I was here. I started a program at the time. We called it ICE, which was International Consulting Experience, because there were gate trips and GCP at the time. I don't know what it's like now, but there was nothing that was hands-on actually doing business internationally. GCP was not-for-profit focused, and GATE was very valuable, but more kind of business tourism, where you're learning about business in different areas, but not a consulting job, basically, while you're a student for a company that has an international presence that needs a problem solved. And so we started that, and it became GCP IB, I think, and then it turned into, I don't know, it's had a couple different iterations since then. I don't even know if it's still around now, but it was a whole lot of fun to start, and very valuable lesson in academic politics. And
I think this is probably our last question, then we're going to move to the advice wrap up here. So Josh, go ahead.
So I've been working on a business idea, and I get this question all the time. I'm sure you guys have had it a million times, but it is, hey, that's a cool idea, but you know, why hasn't somebody else done it before? So I'm sure you guys heard that a million times in starting businesses. I'd love to hear, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that question in general, but I'd also like to hear specifically sort of how you answered that question when you were starting your businesses. It's kind of a maddening question.
that's the case with anything that
Yeah.
that's real, you know, I mean, other than maybe, you know, some tech or some stuff. Like one of the products my dad came up with was the swimming pool noodle, the fun noodle, right? And it's just a colorful piece of foam,
No
right?
way, he did that?
Yeah.
That's
awesome. I mean, it's
I've got like 10 of them.
they're awesome.
I can't get enough.
They were the
Give me more noodles.
but you know, I mean, that's the dumbest product in the world, yet, you know, it was the hula hoop of the 90s, and it you know, he got that question all the time, and the answer is because no one has, right? And I mean, granted, it might be because it's gonna fail miserably.
That's a great answer. I'm gonna start telling that story when I get that question.
every product, right? I mean, you look at most products that are great, simple products, and it's a oh man, why didn't I think of that, right? And so if you're holding on to a man, why didn't I think of that? Then you know, then go with it.
Your dad did not do the flow beat, did he? That's my second favorite.
He did synthetic wine corks too. It's all extruded foam products. They were all born out of pipe insulation, which is the dullest product in the world. You know,
not when it's in a swimming pool.
Right. They were just pipe insulation was fun to play in the swimming pool.
Right.
With and colorful ones.
Just wasn't healthy.
So what do you say? I think it's perfectly acceptable to say I don't know, but I've got the idea. It works, and
Yeah, I mean, mine is sort of related to international energy development, and I mean, I just say that I think we're a little bit ahead of the curve. The space is changing really fast, and it's going to happen in the next 3 to 5 years. Absolutely, we just want to get there first. So that's the core.
I mean, if you feel that way and you're passionate about it, you believe it, do it. You know, like just keep believing in it. Like it's very different. Beer, right? It couldn't be more different. But I remember a guy recounting a story to me. He's from Pittsburgh. He tells his friend, So they want to make distinctly Southern beer, and their flagship beer is going to be a steam beer. Anchor Steam is kind of esoteric style. And the guy's like, wait, they want to make a steam beer, and they want to be like use Southern ingredients and call themselves a Southern brewery? He goes, how many different ways does this guy want to go out of business? That was the line. And you know what for me that was? I was like, yes, awesome. because if he had told his friend, yeah, they're starting up a new brewery in Durham, and they're going to make a pale ale, a brown ale, a porter, and a stout, his friend would have been like, okay, right? So what's more memorable? So be memorable, stick to your guns, and I always say zig when they zag, right? So we pioneered this idea of a Southern style beer, knowing that the South loves food traditions that come from the South, knowing that there's a disconnect about how beer is made. Beer is made in some tanks. I don't know how beer is made. So use the knowledge and the passion of local Southern ingredients, incorporate that and bridge that into a passion for local beer, right? And it worked. And now other breweries are doing it, which is great because we can say, hey, we pioneered that. We don't even have to say it. We have other, like we have articles and media and people know that we were the ones who took a chance on it. We took that chance, but we knew.
Great. Well, I think we are almost out of time here. So I'm going to ask the last question here, which is, and we're going to start with Jed and come down this way. So any pieces of advice that you haven't shared, but you just would like to share with the students? And just as a final reminder, we're going to go to the Thomas Center afterwards for networking. Jessica or Lori, are either of you walking over that way afterwards? Okay, so follow Lori first, and I will also be right behind. Free food and drink, positive ID required for drink. And I think almost all of our panelists are going to join us here, so it'll be a great chance for you to meet them and talk one-on-one, kind of have a more intimate conversation. So last piece of advice that you have for the students.
All right. First of all, I'm not going to be able to join you at the Thomas Center. I apologize. My wife has a sewing club that she must attend, and I have to watch the kids. So full disclosure.
Entrepreneurship is a rock star industry.
Yeah, it's exactly. A music tech company. It's awesome. It's a great lifestyle. So a piece of advice. There's no one piece of advice, but I guess I would say you're at Duke or Fuqua. It's been said slightly before. I'll just put a fine point on it. You're in a risk-free environment. This is a time to take a chance, potentially. So you've got the resources surrounding you. You're in this little nice cocoon. Do it. Because if you're not going to get in the game now, what makes you think you're going to want to take that risk sort of later when it's more challenging and difficult? There you go.
Drive a cheap car.
Good one.
Don't get sucked into, if you think you're going to start your own business, don't get sucked into a lifestyle that precludes you, that keeps you away, that prevents you from starting your own business, right? Because you'll get that job and you'll get that lifestyle and you'll driving your fancy car, and then what comes next is the fancy house that comes along with that package, and the kids that, oh, they probably should go to a private school. And that's all well and good if you want to go down that route, but if you want to start a business, struggle early on. Don't get used to it. I'm very serious about that.
I think we've all said this in our own way, but I would leverage the Duke network as much as you can. And the amazing thing about that Duke name, it just opens so many doors. And I know for me, I played basketball here, and that network is strong. There's in the sporting industry, there are a lot of Dukies out there. Sean McManus is the president of CBS Sports. Who am I to call Sean McManus? But I called him, and I sat down with him and his senior development team about this fan cam technology and got amazing insight from one of the leaders in sports. We wanted to try getting a spokesperson for replay photos, and we were kind of brainstorming one day, and I called Jay Billis and said, do you know Erin Andrews? It was pre-Peephole and pre-Dancing with the Stars and everything, and Erin Andrews, next thing you know, like 30 seconds later, was on the phone, and she, so I would tell you, not only the people that are here at Fuqua, but anyone who has that Duke degree attached to their name is, I found, extremely welcoming and embracing of folks who reach out to them.
I would echo all those things, and then maybe to offer some different advice. I would say, don't pretend you know it all, and don't be afraid to ask for help. I think any startup, you're going to have unique challenges. You're going to get outside your comfort zone, and when you do, reach out and ask for advice. Use the network. Use the fact that you're struggling, that you're scared. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone and say, I have this issue, I don't know the answer. You've been there before, help me out. And not just Duke people, but I think people that have been through it before are happy to sit down and appreciate that you've reached out.
I'd say two things. One, stay in Durham. If you're looking to start a business, this or Durham, Raleigh, Chapel, wherever it is that you might feel most comfortable living in, but stay here. The cost of living and quality of life ratio here is absolutely unbeatable. The state in general is unbeatable on that standpoint. And then I'd say, be willing to, or not be willing, put it all on the line. If you really want to start a business, I think it's okay to have the nice house if you can afford it. It's okay to have nice things if you can afford it, but put all those nice things in as collateral on your loans, on your, whatever you need to start your business, because the fear of losing it all will make you that much more passionate and will be incredible incentive in making it happen. Most really successful entrepreneurs are ones where if their business failed, then they were losing their house, their kids' education would probably take a different turn, whatever it might be, but put it all on the line and make it happen.
That is great. And I will just end with one last piece of advice for tonight. So I know that especially the undergraduates, but for all of you, some of you might be intimidated going up to them and talking with them and just chatting with them. I hope that you aren't, and I hope that you'll take this opportunity, spend some time with them. Don't be shy about just kind of standing with them and getting into a conversation. I think they'll enjoy it. I think you can get a lot out of it. And I hope you'll join us tonight over at the Thomas Center. So with that, let's give them a warm round of applause.